I'm going to start slightly early. Continued public hearing for 31 to 39 Newbury Street Site Plan Special Permit Planning Board Case 2016-11, which was continued from my January 11th, 2017 meeting. The applicant, Mr. Harrington.
Mr. Chairman, good evening. For the record, my name is Christopher Harrington. My law office is at 21 McGrath Highway, and I represent the applicant, Heat Treating LLC, in this application. We were here approximately 30 days ago to give you an update on where we were on this project. This is a multi-family residential project in the Business C zoning district. We have a 51,000 square foot lot, and we're proposing 72 units with 118 parking spaces. This project has been to the zoning board, and it's been approved for a special permit for residential and business C, as well as a floodplain special permit. It's also been to the Conservation Commission, and it's been approved with an order of conditions for the construction of this building. So this project, as you know, a 42,000 square foot lot is required to have project in business C by right. We have a 51,000 square foot lot. We didn't require any variances from the Zoning Board of Appeal for this project. The maximum FAR is 3.5, ours is 2.05, so it's significantly less than what the maximum size of the building could be. And we have 715 square feet of land per unit. We also have 118 parking spaces, and 108 are required. So we have 10 extra parking spaces in addition to what's required by the ordinance. Green space is 100 square feet per unit, and we have 210 square feet per unit. So we believe that this is a good project. It's a good reuse of this property. This site is contaminated, and this site is going to get cleaned up as part of this redevelopment program. We've had meetings with Mass DEP, with the person who was in charge of the Brownfields section of the Mass Department of Environmental Protection. We've met with her to talk about how to clean this site up and advance the project at the same time. We've had some very positive meetings with her. I'd like to introduce our architect, Arthur Chu, just to very briefly talk about his building and the perspectives that were requested of what this building would look like once it's built from the Neponset River Bridge. Thank you.
Mr. Chu.
Thank you. For the record, Arthur Chu, 1 Billings Road, Quincy, Mass. What we have is 18 units per floor, 6 floors total, with 2 parking levels of parking. Because of the difference in grade, one level of parking is at the higher grade, and you drive into the other level of parking at the lower grade. Last time we were here, we talked about creating some perspectives to see how the building would fit in. One thing I'd like to say, this is coming over the Neponset Bridge. This is actually looking back over your shoulder after you pass it. It's not, I think that the way you really see it is on the lane going towards Boston. So it actually would be set back further. But what we like about it is it doesn't stand out too much in the streetscape. The guest parking outside, which would primarily be a more practical use for it at the Densmore side of the building. And we take up pretty much the space with the existing building on it for this before we can develop the landscape plan.
Our LSP, William Baird, is here if you have any specific questions for him about the environmental condition of the site or exactly what he's planning to do. We've had numerous interactions with the departments on their comment letters, as well as the city's peer review engineer, and responded to a couple of peer review comment letters. There's a few items that are still outstanding, but I think we've managed to answer the vast majority of the questions that were asked about the project. The site includes, one of the biggest improvements on this site is something that's actually on Newbury Street is 35 feet wide. It was laid out in the mid-1800s, and it was laid out as a 35-foot wide street. So what we're proposing to do is we're proposing to improve Newbury Street all the way to the edge of our property, so the street is fixed and paved, at least to this point. There are other lots that are located down this end of the property. One has a permit to be developed, and the other two are currently undeveloped. So if something happens to those properties, then the rest of Newbury Street can be dealt with as part of those properties. But from our lot line here, the whole frontage of Newbury Street is going to be paved and rebuilt, so it's a proper street, 35 feet wide. The sidewalk is on our property, so it's in a sidewalk easement that runs along inside the property line, so that the sidewalk doesn't take up any of Newbury Street. So the entire 35 feet that's available is available for two-way traffic as well as parking on one side of the street. So one of the improvements that we're making to this street is that we're getting all of our guest parking off the street back here in this parking lot. Industrial heat, if you go down there on a work day, there are cars that belong to the workers at industrial heat along Newbury Street. There are others parked back here on Densmore, as well as some of their trucks. All of that will be gone, opening up those streets for the lawful on-street parking. So all along this stretch here will be approximately 10 to 12 new parking spaces on the street that can replace any other parking that's displaced anywhere else in the neighborhood. We also have our civil engineer as well as our traffic engineer are all here this evening, so if you have any specific questions for them, we'd be happy to entertain them. Thank you.
Any questions of Mr. Harrington or of the architect? Seeing none, okay. Yeah, one of them, the peer review. All right.
Good evening, thank you. My name is Eric Girard. I'm a civil engineer with TEC out of Lawrence, Mass. And we were selected to do the peer review for this project, primarily to review the site design, stormwater management, traffic, transportation, and pedestrian connectivity for the project. We have provided 3 peer review letters. We've been coordinating with various departments, including the planning department, with these letters, as well as other city departments. In addition, with the applicant, there has been some discussions back and forth. And as the attorney mentioned, with DEP, we had a meeting with the Brownfields development team to discuss the outstanding contamination issues on the property. Throughout the process, they have satisfactorily addressed many of the comments back and forth with the revised designs, including some stormwater management, which will also be coordinated with the LSP work to make sure that there are no adverse impacts to the infiltration needs that they are providing. We also coordinated significantly on the pedestrian connectivity, with this being a residential development, to get the people from this development to Hancock Street to connect into the rest of the city. So they have improved pedestrian connectivity by providing sidewalks along the frontage as well as along the easterly side of the property to connect to Densmore Street. It's our understanding that the LSP concerns and the contamination will be wrapped into any sort of conditions, as well as any of the minor outstanding recommendations that we had provided. So if the board has any questions, I can certainly...
Any questions of Eric? I think when it was first introduced, my concern was, and I addressed it to the LSP, namely residential on a contaminated or semi-contaminated site. What I hear from not only you, and more importantly from the department and the meetings that were held, that I'm happy. No, hearing none? Okay. It is a continued public hearing, so I'd ask anybody that wishes to speak, come forward, identify yourself. For those that don't want to be recorded or don't want to speak, there are sign-in speakers for and against sheets on the windowsill. If anyone wishes to speak? Anyone wishing to speak on this item? Third and last time, anyone wishes to speak or anyone wishes to be recorded? Okay. I have a letter that was sent to the board. I won't read it all in its entirety. It's a letter that's signed by Matthew Nassif. I'm not spelling it, I'm not pronouncing his name. That basically talks about ownership and lack of notice to abutters. It's my understanding that we've satisfied the notice to the abutters. So, but I would just have it entered into the record. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Just
just a couple, I know we've gone through this project a couple times. I just want to, I guess, maybe confirm a couple of things, if that's okay. In terms of the streets, are they one-way? So the two main streets are Newbury and Densmore?
Yes.
Can you remind me, are those one-way streets?
They're both two-way streets.
They're both two-way streets,
Yes.
Okay. Great, and then the other thing I just wanted to confirm is that seems like an ideal facility for bicyclists, bicycle storage, and confirming that there is bicycle storage.
There is, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
any other questions to board members? Okay, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion, all those in favor? Aye. Department, have a recommendation?
Yes, we do. Before I read the recommendation, I would note that the department, along with the Department of Health, met with peer review and the applicant with DEP, so it was all-inclusive, and we had Cindy DeCristofaro and the Department of Health part of that meeting, and she also helped construct the special conditions relating to the environmental cleanup, so she has seen them. Secondly, we also, the applicant coordinated with the engineering office as it relates to roadway mitigation tied to this project. The applicant has agreed to some improvements of the entirety of the roadways up to Hancock Street, and the final details of those will be worked out with the Public Works. And again, I spoke with the city engineer this afternoon on those conditions, so I just wanted to assure the board as they hear them that both the Department of Health and DPW has seen those specific conditions on this project. With that, and the review you heard, and the peer review reports, the department does recommend the board vote to approve the site plan review in accordance with the Quincy Zoning Ordinance, section 9.5.1, subject to the following special conditions. Number one, the applicant shall obtain all necessary variances from the Zoning Board of Appeal. Number two, the applicant is subject to the City of Quincy Inclusionary Zoning Ordinance and shall be responsible for adhering to the decision of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Committee for this project. Number three, the applicant shall adhere to all comment letters issued by the city departments and peer review consultants, including the Public Works Review Letter dated October 10th, 2016, Department of Health Review Letter dated October 17th, 2016, the City Engineers Peer Review Consultant TEC Review Letter dated February 8th, 2017, and the City's Traffic Engineer Letter dated February 1st, 2017. Number four, the applicant shall submit to the Director of Inspectional Services a copy of the revised stormwater plans that are part of this decision to determine whether the order of conditions, DEP number 0591386, issued by the Quincy Conservation Commission on December 7th, 2016, needs to be amended. Number five, the applicant shall install a new 8-inch water main on Newbury Street from Hancock Street to the property as shown on the approved plans. The applicant shall coordinate with the Quincy Department of Public Works on abandonment of the existing water main and connection of service laterals. Number six, the applicant shall establish a 5-foot sidewalk easement on 31 Newbury Street -26 Densmore Street property for the entire length of frontage on Newbury Street as shown on the approved plans. Number seven, the sidewalk shall be constructed by the applicant at the applicant's expense. The sidewalk material shall be concrete with granite curbing as shown on the approved plans. The applicant shall coordinate with the Quincy Department of Public Works and the city traffic engineer on final specifications. Number 8, the applicant shall pave Newbury Street for the entire length of the frontage of 31 Newbury Street, 26 Densmore Street as shown on the approved plans. The applicant shall coordinate with the Quincy Department of Public Works and the traffic engineer on final specifications. Number 9, the applicant shall work with the Quincy Department of Public Works and with the abutters at 17 Newbury Street and 55 Hancock Street to design and install a sidewalk on the public way portion of Newbury Street from the applicant's property to Hancock Street. This section of Newbury Street is a public way. The applicant shall work at the direction of the Department of Public Works and City Traffic Engineer. Number 10, the property the property is identified as a contaminated site by the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection and is subject to Mass General Law Chapter 21E and the Massachusetts Contingency Plan 310 CMR Section 40. Number 11, prior to the issuance of a demolition permit, the applicant shall conduct a hazardous material survey of the building. Contaminants of concern include asbestos, petroleum, cyanide, and other chemicals used in the manufacturing process, PCBs, and heavy metals. Remediation, removal, or mitigation of all hazardous materials identified in the hazardous material survey must be completed prior to demolition. Number 12, the applicant shall remove the former quench oil underground storage tanks abandoned in place under the building during building demolition. Number 13, prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall engage a registered LSP to conduct a Phase 2 comprehensive site assessment of the property. The Phase 2 assessment shall be in conformance with the Massachusetts Contingency Plan and shall include, but not be limited to, the following. Subsection A, identify all floor drains and associated piping within the building. Sample sediments and liquid, if present, within each drain. Subsection B, assessment of potential cyanide impacts to soil groundwater is needed at former cyanide salts treating room, noted on Figure 2 at the eastern end of the building. Subsection C, installation of deeper monitoring wells in known source areas, area of former solvent degreaser and former hydraulic lift is recommended. Subsection D, analysis of soil and groundwater samples collected under Phase 2 should include extractable petroleum hydrocarbons, volatile organic compounds, semi-VOCs, MCP14 metals, and cyanide. Subsection E, it is recommended that groundwater is sampled quarterly for a year to gain a comprehensive understanding of site conditions, seasonal fluctuations, and rates of degradation. Subsection F, extent of off-property impacts must be determined, including the need to assess potential vapor intrusion to residences at 31 Densmore Street and 39 Newbury Street and impacts to nearby wetlands. Condition number 14. During construction of the proposed building and related site work required for construction, the applicant's LSP shall remove impacted soils for proper disposal in conformance with the Massachusetts Contingency Plan. Number 15, the applicant's LSP shall provide copies to the Health Department and Planning Department of all reports, plans, and status reports filed with the Department of Environmental Protection for all phases of the site assessment and remediation. Number 16, prior to the issuance of an occupancy permit, the LSP shall file and receive approval from the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection a permanent solution as defined by the Massachusetts Contingency Plan for the property, indicating that the property complies with the regulatory requirements for residential use. Number 17, the stormwater operation and maintenance plan shall be recorded at the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds. 18, the applicant shall be required to obtain any necessary sewer connection permit and street opening permits from the Department of Public Works prior to the issuance of a building permit. Number 19, the applicant's LSP shall review the proposed stormwater management system and infiltrating devices to confirm that no adverse impacts will occur at the property with the installation of these devices. The applicant shall submit any required changes to the City of Quincy Department of Public Works for review and approval. Number 20, the applicant shall submit a construction management plan to Inspectional Services Department at the time a demolition permit and the building permit application is filed. 21, the applicant shall develop and submit a dust control plan to the Department of Health for review and approval prior to obtaining a demolition permit and building permits. Said dust control plan is to be implemented during any site activities to ensure compliance with state air quality regulations. Number 22, the applicant shall develop a rodent control contingency plan prior to the commencement of construction activities on site, which will include the name and contact information for an on-call pest control company. Said rodent control plan shall be developed and submitted to the Department of Health for review and approval prior to obtaining building permits. 23, prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy, the engineer shall provide certification that all accessible on-site routes, including sidewalks, ramps, walkways, and handrails, are constructed in compliance with the American with Disabilities Act and Massachusetts Architectural Access Board current regulations and guidelines. Almost there. 24, the City of Quincy may at its discretion use consultants to supplement city staff for, but not limited to, the purpose of environmental remediation and site work. The independent engineering peer review consultant review escrow account shall be fully funded to the amount of $15,000 prior to the issuance of building permits. 25, upon completion of the project, the applicant shall furnish to the Planning Department and City Engineering Office digital file as-built plans showing all utilities, building footprints, reference bounds, benchmarks, defining the total site facilities and rights-of-way. 26, the hours of construction activities and delivery of materials will be as follows: 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Saturday, and all construction deliveries shall be prohibited on Sunday unless the same are approved by the Chief of Police for Sunday activity. That concludes my recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. Any questions from the board members? Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve, based on the conditions articulated by the department.
So a second?
Second.
Discussion? The chair just has a comment, and that is, this is a prime example of agencies at state and city level working with the departments at the city level to develop what I consider as a sound decision and something that's good for all the parties concerned. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I gave you,
See you, John.
Some people still like it.
Okay, so